Hey Slick Review fans, coming at you with another video. What we're doing today is taking a quick look, an unboxing and first impressions of the Sony FX3. I'm not going to go super deep into the differences between this camera and the A7S III. There's a lot of channels out there that focus on filmmaking and things like that. If you're looking for that in-depth type video, there's tons of those out there that got released kind of when this camera came out. So if that's what you're looking for, that's not what we're doing here. What I noticed was that a lot of these channels, again, that focus on like filmmaking and stuff, they were talking about the differences between this and the A7S III, like on a theoretical basis, on paper. And not a lot of people are making those review videos with the camera in hand. Well, that's what we're doing here. So again, an unboxing to show you what you get in the box with a close-up look of the components and of the camera itself. And while we're doing that, we'll go through the reasons why I personally decided to get the FX3 over the A7S III. Again, not on an in-depth like technical basis, but just kind of my thought process why I went with this camera instead of the other one. So with that out of the way, let's get this going. I just got this today myself. I haven't even cracked it open yet. So here up top, we get the USB-A to USB-C cable, your usual propaganda and such. Right here should be the camera body. We're gonna put that off to the side for a second. What else do we get in here? Here is the top handle with the audio interface. So again, we're gonna do, kind of an in-depth close-up look at all this stuff once we get it out of the box. What else do we get? Another Sony battery charger to throw in with all the rest of them that I've got. A power cable for that charger. Let's see what else do we get. Is that it? That might be it in the box. I almost panicked there for a second. I thought I got screwed out of a battery. And then there's the battery. It looks to be that's all in the box. All right, so first, what everybody really wants to see, what I want to see, is the camera body itself. So here's what we're going to do is just kind of take a tour of the camera body and just, again, kind of look at it in a little bit more detail than some of those other guys have. So first, looking at the body itself is a little bit larger than I thought it was going to be, but still a very compact cinema camera. So kind of taking a tour along the top here, we've got 3 1/4-20 threads, of course your hot shoe, one of many record buttons right up top. That's probably the one I'm going to use the most. I'm just kind of getting a feel for it for the first time here with you, and that one is placed very nicely. You've got kind of the D-pad joystick type deal moved up to the top as opposed to the back like a lot of the other Sony Alpha cameras. Custom buttons up top. Now, one complaint I've heard from some folks is that while these are custom buttons, Sony made the decision to print what they decided they were going to be out of the box with these labels here. So you've got ISO, white balance, aperture, iris, whatever. So they've got those labeled, so you can change them, but that label's always there. So at least for me, until I maybe I dial this in exactly how I want it, I'll probably just leave it like it is. And then you've got the zoom rocker. Now this might be a little confusing because I've got a couple other Sony cameras, and this is typically what the on switch is, but Sony made this zoom rocker that has compatibility with some of their power zooms, but then also you get clear image zoom. It's basically a digital zoom with other lenses as well. So that's kind of nice. You get a nice smooth zooming effect by using that instead of like either trying to zoom a lens yourself. So that's pretty nice. On the front, we've got one adjustable dial there. Moving along to the front, not a lot going on here. You've got your autofocus and then another custom button / record button around the front there. And then on the back, kind of the business side, of course, the flippy screen that everybody, including myself, loves, especially on a video camera. You've got your power button here, mode, menu, a tally light right there. This thing is loaded with tally lights. You guys probably already know that. Another rocker here, and then a bunch of custom buttons. You've got your display, zebras, shutter, peaking, all this stuff right here on the back. And then of course, a vent for the fan. Right now, my Sony stable, as it were, is the A7C. That's typically what I use here for my channel. That's what I've been using since it came out. So for about the past 9 months or so, that's what I'm using right now for filming, is the A7C. I use that a lot for kind of street photography and stuff like that. I've got the 7R for my serious, more kind of stills focused work there. And now I've added the FX3 for my serious video work. So kind of all combined, what I've got again is the 7R for photo, FX3 for video, and the 7C can serve as a B cam for really both. It kind of lies in the middle there. So compared to what I've got to work with already, the FX3 obviously takes on more of the 7C, the A6000 series kind of style here, especially with the 7C where they've chopped off the EVF. Now one thing on the A7C, they moved it off to the side, so you still get an EVF. It's kind of worthless, you really have to get in there to look, but it's there. I kind of wish they had found a way to throw it on here. I get what they were thinking. They probably just decided to get rid of it for space, and because a lot of people who are serious about filmmaking, a lot of people are either going to be fine just using the screen, or everybody's already got their monitors, their Atmos Ninjas and all that stuff, so they probably don't need an EVF, especially if they're just going to put a little dinky one like the 7C. You can't really get away with putting that little tiny bullcrap EVF on a $4,000 camera. So I kind of get what Sony had to do. Maybe they'll come out with a hot shoe compatible EVF for people who really want one. I'm not really bothered by it, again, because when I'm filming, I'll be fine just using the monitor like this, or I'll get an external one and put it on the top handle. So really what we're gonna do here is just compare the two bodies between the FX3 and the A7R4. Now, again, if you're comparing two cameras, it's probably the FX3 and the A7S3. I don't have one of those, I went with the FX3. So what we're doing here is comparing the two bodies if you're kind of looking at form factor and ergonomics. I understand this is not an A7S3, I know that, but they're basically the same body is the only difference. Like up top, the only difference is this custom button is a record button on the A7S3. So it's just minor differences, just work with me guys. I'm trying to just give you a little bit of a form factor overview here. So along the top, obviously very different. You've got three custom buttons, your record button, your D-pad, zoom rocker, shutter button, all that stuff on top. Over here, again, same with the A7S3. It's very kind of photo-centric is obviously what these cameras are for. Even a video-centric camera like the A7S3. Still a traditional mode dial with a lot of photo buttons. Custom buttons, again, this is a record button on the A7S3, but then you've got your power switch, shutter, exposure compensation, and a rocker there. And now, of course, this is also a lot more top heavy because it's got this large EVF on top. You don't have that on the FX3. That little bit of a difference with an EVF, that can make a big difference if you're trying to put this camera on a gimbal or something, not just for weight and balance, but even just trying to use the gimbal. You might find that with a large body like the traditional Alpha line, is this EVF might bump on some of the gimbal parts. So by getting rid of that and just kind of making a squared off camera body, this is going to be a lot more gimbal friendly if that's something you see yourself doing. Now on the back, this is basically identical between the A7S3 and the 7R4. So on the back, again, very photo-centric on this side. You've got your function button, ISO, all of that stuff here on the side, couple custom buttons, right? Well, over here, again, like we talked about before, a lot of custom buttons, but all the labels and everything is more video-centric and focused. So you've got your focus magnification, zebras, peaking, all of that stuff here on the FX3, where again, all of your labels and everything, even on an A7S3, is photo first. And your ports on the side are pretty similar, at least on the 7R4. I'm not totally sure about this part on the A7S3, but I imagine it's pretty similar. Your ports are basically identical here along the side, but those are basically the same, at least between these two bodies. And again, I'm not totally sure about that on the A7S3, but if I was to wager a guess, I would imagine that's similar too. Now, as far as weight in the hand, the FX3 is a touch heavier by about 100 grams or so, but I don't think in the hand you're really gonna feel that all that much, so I wouldn't let that sway you. So looking at the grip as well, it is a lot more, I don't know, maybe aggressive on the FX3 compared to the other Alpha cameras. It's a lot sharper, and I think that's in a good way. As I'm kind of feeling it right here, this is a very natural way to hold it, putting your middle finger kind of in this trigger grip, I guess, right here, and then your top finger is ready to go there. You could also maybe hold it like this, is how I've seen other people say they were gonna plan to use it, is kind of like that. But I think either way, well, maybe like this, kind of like a traditional photo grip, might not work the best because you gotta really reach for that record button. I guess maybe you could hit it with your thumb, or again, you've got a front one. You've got nothing but record buttons on this thing. So you could really kind of do whatever you want there. While here, these are obviously more meant to be photo. So that's kind of the comparison, again, in the hand of the FX3 compared to a traditional alpha camera. So what we're gonna do is take a quick look at the XLR handle that it comes with. So here's a couple just kind of close-up shots of it. This is the first time I've got it in the hand. As you probably already know, this doubles as a top handle as well, but you can turn the audio off and just use it as a top handle if you like. But then it's also got all the professional inputs for your XLR and all that stuff. Installation's pretty simple. Slide that in there, and then this of course uses 2 of your 1/4-20 threads. You don't need any tools. You could get a screwdriver and tighten it down if you wanted to, but I don't know if that's totally necessary. And then there you go. You've got a top handle ready for you to use just like that if you like, but then you've also got professional audio if you'd like to use that. But we're also going to throw a lens on here just to kind of get, you know, a realistic working footprint here and see kind of what it would look like in the hand. Now this is a 24-105, might not be the lens of choice for a lot of videographers, but it's one that I've got to work with. It is kind of a big and heavy lens, but it is one that I see myself using on this one. I prefer to have the 105 reach, again, just for some of my other work too. So here's kind of what it could look like in kind of a run and gun documentary filmmaking kind of situation. You've got a decent sized lens on here. Again, your lens of choice might change. You might use primes or whatever. So that's a pretty decent, versatile camera setup for some run and gun shooting. The 24-105 with the top handle up top. A pretty small, unobtrusive camera setup to get some awesome video. You won't really turn a lot of heads running around with this, and that might be what you're going for as well. Now just real quick, some of the reasons why I went with the FX3 over the A7S III. Again, we're not going to get too deep into this, but I just decided, one, I'd rather have as video-centric a camera from Sony as possible. I'm investing in the Sony system. I looked at some of the other options out there, and the Sony lineup is just kind of where I landed, and I wanted a video-centric camera to add to my stable. So it was really the A7S III or the FX3. Now, the A7S III, normal retail is $3,500. This one's $3,900. But with something like the A7S III, a cage is mandatory. If you add a side handle, if you want professional audio, you're kind of limited to Sony's K3M adapter, which is about $600. So now already just with that adapter, you've surpassed the FX3. Now that adapter comes with a shotgun mic, but then you're kind of limited to that mic. With this one, you can get whatever you like. Now you might run into some issues on if it fits in here, but there's some workarounds there. But then you can just get whatever mic you like, or maybe you've already got one. So if you go the A7S III route, if you value XLR audio, if that's a big deal for you, get the FX3. I knew that's something I'd at least like the option for, so almost right away, at least on a monetary basis, you're kind of pushed towards the FX3 because it comes with this handle and you can get whatever mic you like. If you get the A7S III, you have to get the K3M adapter that comes with a mic. That's $600 on top of $3,500. So you see what I mean? You're kind of pigeonholed into that scenario that's more expensive. Plus a cage, plus a side handle, and you're still shooting with what is a hybrid body, even if it does awesome video, because again, the guts in here, you guys already know this, inside the cameras are identical. But what I'm saying is, by the time you're done with an A7S III getting it ready for video, it's cost you more money if you value XLR audio. If you don't care about XLR, again, you still need a cage and a side handle and some of that other stuff, and you just gotta kind of decide if you're saving enough money to make it worth it. Now, if you can only have one body for whatever reason, and you're a hybrid shooter, then maybe get the A7S III. You get an EVF, which is kind of nice, but here was kind of my thought process. I think when you're talking about spending $3,500 or maybe $4,000 on a camera, maybe you're in a position where you could just save up a little bit more money, and if you want something to do stills on, maybe get the 7C. Takes great photos. It's not a ton of money. And what I'm saying is, don't let I take photos pigeonhole you into a camera. Really think about your situation, and maybe you get the FX3, which I think is a lot better for video, and get something like the 7C, or maybe even one of the APS-C cameras for your stills work. Just something to consider. So that's it, guys. I promised I wasn't gonna go super deep down the rabbit hole talking about this thing, comparing it and all that. I really wanted to give you guys kind of a hands-on, first impressions, in-depth look at the camera that's not just comparing spec sheets. And I really think if you're a video-focused creator, this is the way to go. If you like to take stills as well as kind of a hobby, then I really think maybe just use your smartphone for that kind of stuff. And like I said, just save up to get a second Sony body for that. I love the 7C, especially for, it does both things well. It does video and it does stills well. So I really recommend the 7C, and maybe you get an FX3 for your video work. If you are doing photo and stills professionally, I really think you want to get a setup like I've got with the 7R4 for your stills and this for your video. That's what I would do if I were you, especially if you're professional. You can afford and justify having two bodies. I think that's the better way to go there. I wouldn't use an A7S III for professional stills. It's only 12 megapixels. You're not gonna do a whole ton with those. I think those are really best suited for like posting online only. Maybe you can take really good photos there. I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of rage comments now from A7S III people, but what I'm saying is if you're a professional, you probably wanna go for something that does photos a little bit better than the A7S III. So that's it, guys. First look, first impressions of the FX3. Maybe I'll do a little bit more in-depth video later after I've actually had time to play with it in the hand. I've got some ideas for some short films I want to start working on. That's why I've been absent from the channel here lately, guys. I haven't been uploading as often as I like because I am focusing on some other projects right now, so I haven't forgot about you. I am trying to get out content as quickly as I can, but maybe I'll do kind of an in-depth, maybe some behind-the-scenes stuff when I'm working on these short films that I've got planned. My question for you guys is, what do you think? FX3, A7S III, who should buy both? Do you already have one? Just what are your thoughts on that whole paradigm dilemma? What do you guys think? Let everybody know down in the comments down below. If you guys have any other comments or questions, please do leave them down below. I like to hear from you guys. I try to get to every single one. If you'd like to get in touch, here's my social media links, which are down in the description as well. And last, before we go, guys, if you enjoy straightforward, to the point content like this, mostly we focus on great deals online, please make sure to leave the video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Pretty easy and free ways to help support the channel. But that's all I've got for you this time. I'm Zach, this is Slick Reviews, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure to drop a comment down below and give the video a thumbs up. Here's some other videos that I think you'll really like. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos, and I'm on Facebook and Twitter as well. See you at the next one.